Well, the New York Mets blew the series against the Tampa Bay Rays, and the Detroit Tigers didn't do much better this weekend. I'm going to be diving in to all the teams, try to figure out who are the top 10 teams in baseball right now. Welcome to the Power Ranking Research videos, kind of a new thing that I'm doing. Put out Power Rankings Sunday night every week, and they become available to patrons as soon as the video is done. And then following that, the official power rankings released to everybody else on YouTube on Monday. But this is just a little bit of a chance to do behind the scenes. I also haven't been able to be live too much over this weekend, so I figured it's a good time to just talk and hang out and share a little bit about. Um, Hold on. Yeah, share a little bit about everything that's going on and just talk baseball with you guys. We'll talk through the Mets' problems as they have plenty, and all was mostly pitching problems, but the hitting has not been much better this weekend. Are you willing to just give the Mets a mulligan for the weekend, or do you think this is a sign of a bigger problem? I kind of think both. I'm willing to give the Mets a mulligan, but I also think that there is a bit of a problem. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I don't look at my last week's power rankings before I start working on the current week power rankings. So I um I just like to start fresh, and then I will do some comparisons to make sure I'm not missing anything after I'm done. But I like to just start, and I focus on two primary metrics. Primary metric number one is overall record, but primary metric number two is recent games. And then I guess if there's a tiebreaker, there's also kind of recent head to head is also a tiebreaker. It's really hard because, you've got the American League and the National League, and obviously they're not as different as they used to be since both leagues have the designated hitter. But at the same time, it becomes it becomes difficult to parse through a little bit. Which is the better league? I do think the National League is the better league overall, but I try not to bias it too much. Like, I don't think it's significantly better. Um, and there's just a whole bunch of different things to look at, to be considering here. And we've got a couple of tough decisions to make. Namely, question one that I have is I'm just kind of looking over the full scheme of everything is, can I jump the Mets over the Tigers? And I don't think I can jump the Mets over the Tigers because the Tigers struggled this weekend, but the Mets struggled more. Um, Question two is, can I jump anybody over the Mets? You know, but when I look at it, the Cubs, the Dodgers, those would be the two of the obvious contenders to put over the Mets. Um, like, yeah, they did better over the weekend, but overall the Cubs and the Dodgers don't have as good of a record as the Mets. The Cubs are just 5-5 in their last 10 games. Dodgers are 6-4. The Mets just split a series with the Dodgers. So I don't think I'm jumping anybody over the Mets despite what it is. And we've seen this before too. When you do power rankings, like, it's important not to be like too overreactionary of everything. It was like just over a month ago, the Dodgers got swept by the Angels. I didn't say, "Oh my goodness, the Dodgers got swept by the Angels, knock them out of the top 10." It's like kind of like, that wasn't a good performance, but we can kind of take it with a grain of salt. Every team is going to have a bad series, a bad stretch every now and then. It's just the nature of baseball. Baseball is a streaky sport. You could have the all-time all-great team put together, and they would still find ways to lose certain games because it's just the way the sport is. It's baseball naturally competitively balances that no team can really ever be super dominant, at least not in a league as big as Major League Baseball is right now. So yeah, so I don't really see any teams, and it's Major League Baseball had the Cubs ranked ahead of the Mets last week, but their most recent meetup, the Mets beat the Cubs head to head. The Mets have a better record than the Cubs. And like I said, the Mets record in the last 10 games is still better than the Cubs, even with a 3-game sweep this weekend. So had the Mets swept the Rays instead of getting swept by the Rays, the Mets would have been 9-1 in their last 10. So it's definitely I think, but I find it really hard. I mean, there is an argument to be made. Let's see. I want to see how the Tigers did earlier in the week. I've always said that I don't really like displacing a team, you know. So they lost back-to-back games to the Reds, but the Reds are surging just as much as the Rays are surging. The Rays are maybe a little bit stronger team. But they took 2 or 3 from the Cubs. They took 2 or 3 from the Orioles. So, like, it's really hard for me to come out and say the Mets had a better week, or are definitively a better team over the Tigers. Because if you look at the teams the Mets beat previous to this, it was some easier teams. Like, yeah, the Mets swept the Nationals, the Mets swept the Rockies, but um, those are kind of cakewalk teams. Like, you could lose one of those games. You could, win 5 of 6 against the Nationals and Rockies, and that's not a big deal. But you know, um, losing 3 at home to the Rays is definitely rough. And the Mets have a very interesting inter-divisional stretch here. Um, they've got 3 games at the Braves, followed by 3 games at the Phillies, followed by 4 games at home against the Braves. So they're going to play 10, is that 10? Yeah, 10 straight division games for the Mets. 7 of those 10 against the Braves, and the Mets could either bury the Braves, maybe not for good, but pretty good. I mean, this is going to take us almost to the end of July, these next 10 games. So the Mets could have a good chance they could take like 6 out of 7 from the Braves. They could bury the Braves, or they could completely let the Braves right back into this race. And they could also put some significant distance up against the Phillies, too. So, yeah, so I don't know. It's a hard thing, but I just don't think I can really jump the Mets over the Tigers, all things considered. So even if you say the National League is slightly better than the American League, hold on, let me adjust this for just a little bit here. I don't think that slightly better is enough to undo the fact that the Mets just got absolutely steamrolled, and really ever since Kodai Senga went down with the injury, the Mets have not looked like themselves. They need to figure out their personality here quickly, and it's kind of like the shock of losing Senga kind of carried over into the whole weekend, and they haven't really been able to rebound. All right, so that's what we have on that front. And so what I start to do is I just start to piece together what I know. And so the way I look at power rankings is kind of like putting together a puzzle. And again, the overall history does matter. And like I said, I don't go back and look at last week's power rankings, at least not up front. But at the same time, I still remember them. I'm not ignoring, and I know which teams have been trending. So then the other thing I do is I always find 3 honorable mention teams. These are not top 10 teams, but they're teams that are making a run. And so I'm looking for those as well. And so I think one of the big questions is despite their record of only being 1 game over 500, do the Red Sox, do they warrant a spot in the top 10, or do they warrant an honorable mention spot? Their record is 37-36, which is a 507 winning percentage. It's just a tick behind like the Seattle Mariners, basically even with the Minnesota Twins. The Rays definitely move up with a 3-game sweep of the Mets. They're going to move up into, probably the 6 to 8 range, I would say. But there's other good teams. So other teams that are kind of on a roll right now. We got the Red Sox. The Rangers are 7-3 in their last 10. They're on a 4-game winning streak. Looking for honorable mention types of teams. Some of these we've already highlighted recently, so I try not to repeat them too much. But the Orioles and the Athletics both are on 3-game winning streaks. The Marlins are on a 3-game winning streak. So you've got that. Then if you look in the National League, the only team that's really had a great top teams that had great weeks, I mean, the Giants. The Giants definitely need to move up. But still, the Dodgers showed that they're better than them. They still took 2 out of 3 from there. So, Cincinnati Reds could be an honorable mention. They could also squeeze in potentially. Um, but it's gonna be tough, you know. Can't really put the Reds in front of the Phillies, the Giants. Definitely can't be ahead of the Mets, Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies, Giants. They're all gonna be somewhere in there. Tigers, Yankees, Astros are on a 5-game winning streak. I mean, Astros could legit be in contention for the number 3 spot overall here too. But I still don't think they're quite there yet. I think something along the lines of Tigers, Mets, Dodgers, Cubs, um, then maybe Astros, something like that. This is kind of what I'm looking at piecing together here. I don't, how much do you value the Rays sweep over the Mets? I mean, it's a very impressive sweep. It was on the road. It was against one of the hottest teams in baseball overall. I mean, one of the best teams in baseball as the record. So, you know, it's like you don't want to overreact, but you also don't want to minimize, the accomplishment there. So I'm thinking here. I still like the Dodgers over the Cubs. Um, I don't know why MLB has the Cubs or had the Cubs at number 2. I don't think they're the best team, and I think the Dodgers proved it. Taking 2 out of 3 against the Giants. So I think I'm gonna slot in the Dodgers in 3, but I think we can go Cubs in 4 here. Let me see, what did the Cubs do this week? Because that's the other part. Is like actually I like to dig into the box score. So they did win their last 2 games, but they're also 5-5 in their last 10. So it's kind of conflicting information. So yeah, because they lost the first game to the Pirates and Skeens. They lost 2 of 3 to the Phillies. Well, so I got the Phillies pretty close. I think that means they lost 2 of 3 to the Tigers. They lost 2 of 3 to the Phillies, and they won 3 out of 4 from the Pirates, but not in convincing fashion. So this was the Cubs against the Pirates. Every game was a one-run game. They beat the Pirates 3-2. They lost the Pirates 2-1. They beat the Pirates 2-1. They beat the Pirates 3-2. So that's what you'd expect a top team to do. But I mean, you got to argue the Phillies probably are they close enough in the standings? So maybe Phillies do need to be ahead of the Cubs here. What's the Phillies record? They're 42-29. Yeah, that's close enough. The Phillies are also just 5-5. So what else did the Phillies do this week? Get Devers. Yeah, too late on that. Of course, Devers got traded. How's it going, D-Rails? Devers got traded to the Giants tonight. Giants gave up. I haven't followed them, but I know like the pitching they gave up was pretty good. Maybe the Mets were in talks at some point, but once Kodai Senga, you know, got injured, it maybe really kind of crippled the Mets' chances to make a deal like that. Because Kyle Harrison's was like a pretty big pitching prospect a year or 2 ago. So yeah, what do you think for the series though, Rels? Do you see the series as just like a just a wash? It's like just a wash for the series, and you just let them go. Hopefully, this isn't gonna. I don't want to actually join. I just want to be able to see chat a little bit better. Oh, there we go. Throw that up on the screen like that. Hold on, let's do this. I hope you're doing well, D-Rails. All right, but I don't think I've got the Phillies. The Phillies I had dropping. I think I actually had the Phillies come out last week. So who else did the Phillies play this week? Oh, Phillies swept the Blue Jays and took 2 of 3 from the Cubs. Yeah. The Blue Jays were one of the hottest teams in baseball coming into the weekend. too, right up there with the Rays. The Phillies did to the Blue Jays what the Mets couldn't do to the Rays. They're both two teams that were on fire, and the Phillies just absolutely shut the Blue Jays down, and they shut the Cubs down, winning 2 out of 3. Okay, so yeah, I can't put the Cubs at 4 or 5. I don't know how high I can move the Phillies in here. How do the Phillies compare to the Rays in record here? We also got the Astros and the Yankees. Well, Phillies have just about as good of a record as the Yankees. Got to move the Yankees down. They got swept this weekend. I don't know what it is. What does Boston have on the Yankees this year? That's crazy to me. It's taken 5 out of 6 from the Yankees. Okay, so Phillies can slot in there. I mean, do I move the Phillies all the way up? The Astros are hot too. I think I can yeah, I every team's got you're gonna have series like this. That's just kind of my thing. The Rays are super hot. The Rays are the type of team that can take on the Mets really well. The Mets can kind of like outbash other big hitting teams like the Dodgers, but the scrappy baseball that the Rays play, I think that's kind of an Achilles heel for the Mets. So I agree. I agree. I blame Mendoza for Friday's game, but Mets will kill the Braves. We'll see, Red Man. Um, I think it's good that they have a day off tomorrow. Everybody can just kind of take a day, clear out that series from their heads. It was an ugly series. Um, but again, a lot of other teams had some ugly series too. So I think you got to go Houston Astros then. Astros are 8-2 in their last 10. And then maybe you go Philadelphia Phillies here. Who else did the Cubs play? Oh, there's the Pirates. I don't know. How much do you really value that series? I you can't value winning 3 out of 4 from the Pirates that much. Brandon Nimmo says he doesn't care about the Braves. Yeah. It's probably yep. Devers traded to the Giants. So that is interesting. I mean, it's definitely good for the Giants. I like I said, Kyle Harrison was one of the pitchers the Giants traded away. And I know he was highly touted up until recently. So yeah, what do you do with the Yankees? There's a lot of teams. There's kind of this lull right now when you look at it. So other than the Astros, here's your division leaders in their last 10 games. Detroit Tigers, their last 10 games, best record in baseball. They're 5-5. New York Yankees, second best record in American League, last 10 games, 5-5. New York Mets, best record in the National League, last 10 games, 6-4. Chicago Cubs, second best record in the National League, last 10 games, 5-5. Los Angeles Dodgers, the highly touted team that everybody loves, third best record in the National League in their last 10 games, 6-4. Philadelphia Phillies, they're 5-5. Now their last 5 wins were good wins, but um, there's just a lot of it's just kind of that point of time in the season that if you have a division lead, you can kind of afford to play 500 ball. If you're like the Mets, so the Mets are obviously can't you don't want to get swept, but the Mets are still 18 games over 500 right now. Okay, so if they just play 500 ball the rest of the season, that's going to be what? That's 60, 72. So it's 90 games. That's going to get them to 90 wins. Does 90 wins guarantee them the division? No. But 90 wins very well could get the Mets. I mean, that's just if they play 500 ball the rest of the season. They'll go 45-45 the rest of the way. I wouldn't call the Braves a trash team. Mets fans love trashing on the Braves, and the Braves they're still not out of it. They are due for some major positive regression. They actually have a +12 run differential. Um, you know, and they're tucked in. So I'm not, I'm not, I'm not calling the Braves dead and buried. You guys can do that if you want to, but I'm not doing that. And the way this Mets team played this weekend, I'm not jumping ship, but I have zero confidence the Mets are just going to go in and roll over the Braves in Atlanta. Yeah, no, I'm not counting on or expecting that to happen. It's going to be a battle. You guys should know this by now. We struggle with the Marlins. Every interdivisional game for the Mets is going to be a battle. It is pretty trash, derails, but again, the Mets just got swept by the Rays. And I know the Rays are now like they're the AL wild card leader, but this Rays team was not that good a month ago. So, and like I said, the Dodgers got swept by the Angels a couple weeks ago. Like teams are going to have bad series. Teams are going to have bad games. And it doesn't matter how good or bad the Braves are. The Braves can still beat the Mets. And if the Mets play down to the Braves level, then that's exactly what's going to happen. So, all right. So we're working on here. So where do we go here? We got Tigers, Mets, Dodgers, Astros, Phillies. Where do we put the Yankees? Where do we put the Rays? I mean, the Rays have to jump up, right? The Rays have to jump up in the power rankings. But how far up? What else do we see? So they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're plus 62. The Rays have a better run differential. Wow, the Rays have a better run differential than the Houston Astros. They have a better run differential than the Phillies. They have the sixth best run differential in all of Major League Baseball. That Rays team is sneaky good. Wouldn't it be crazy if the Rays end up like knocking the Yankees out of the playoffs? Yeah, Beatty's got a little strain or something. I saw that. This Rays team, they need to jump up. Are the Rays better than the Phillies right now? What do you guys think on that? Rays are 39 and 32. Phillies are 42 and 29. Phillies have a better record. Phillies definitely have the higher ceiling. I wonder, do I need to put the Rays higher than the Phillies? I mean that's really gonna drop the Cubs low, but let's Cubs are 44 and 28. You got to put the Phillies over the Cubs. They just beat them head to head. Man, I don't know. This is a mess. Power rankings this week is an absolute mess. Okay, so I don't think there's going to be room for the Red Sox in the top 10. So we're going to get Red Sox are going to be one honorable mention. I think I'm pretty there's too many teams that have better records. So Red Sox are going to get an honorable mention. How about the Cleveland Guardians? The whole AL Central is just absolutely tanking right now. Tigers are 5-5 in their last 10. Twins are 2-8 in their last 10. Guardians are 2-8 in their last 10. Royals are 2-8 in the last 10. In the last 10 games, the second best team in the American League Central, second best team in the American League Central over the last 10 games is the Chicago White Sox. And they're 4-6. That's so crazy to me. Those teams were all like on fire a month ago. The Pirates, do they get how Who did the Pirates play? They just lost 2 or 3 to the Cubs. And did you give Pirates honorable mention for playing the Cubs close? What else did they do this week? They had to do something else. They won 2 or 3 at the Marlins, and they swept the Phillies? I don't know, maybe Pirates get an honorable mention. I mean, it's hard to give an honorable mention when a team loses 3 out of 4, but it was to the Cubs, and it was by 1 run every time, and they did win 1 game. They took 2 out of 3 from the Marlins, and they swept the Phillies. So maybe the Pirates get the honorable mention here, because they're probably not gonna get who else do we got? The Giants are playing well. Is there a world where the Padres aren't even in the top 10? Who the Because didn't the Giants beat somebody good before the Dodgers? No, it was just Rockies and Braves. And they split with the Padres. They swept the Braves, no, they didn't even sweep the Rockies. Took 2 or 3 from the Rockies, and then they lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. So, yeah, I don't think the Giants are that high up. Let's see. But yeah, maybe the Padres. They're 4-6 in their last 10. It's possible the Padres drop out. Well, then the Reds. So the Reds get honorable mention. They've won 7 of 10. Who'd they play? Well, they took 2 out of 3. Wow. So the last 3 series for the Reds swept the Diamondbacks, took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians, took 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3 at the Guardians, 2 out of 3 at the Tigers. And then they get Twins and Cardinals. Yeah, I think Reds get honorable mention. So Diamondbacks. 2 out of 3 at Guardians. 2 out of 3 at. All right. So Pirates swept the Phillies, 2 out of 3 from the Marlins. They lost 3 out of 4 of the Cubs, but they lost every game by 1 run. All right. So we got that. The Red Sox have the Yankees number. What else did the Red Sox do? I already forgot. So I have to type my notes as I go when I do this stuff. It's like I end up going back and having to double check everything all over again. Of course, we add in the Devers deal into that. 2 out of 3. So they took the Red Sox have won 5 out of 6 versus the Yankees, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Rays. So, where's Savage Batman? He'll be happy to see the honorable mention. All right. I'm still trying to figure everything out. There's not a lot of power ranking people who are going to want to put the Mets as number 2, but if you look at the whole body of work, I think that they're still there. Phillies. Let's go Tampa Bay Rays. Rays ahead of the Cubs, but behind the Phillies. That sounds about right. Maybe there's a world where the Blue Jays fall out here. Maybe there's a world where there are. I don't even remember if the Mariners were in last week. The Twins are definitely out. Well, Blue Jays might hang on for a spot here. You gotta have the Padres ahead of the Blue Jays, right? Padres have been bad. Probably go Giants next. Interesting. You guys let me know. You can tell me your top 10 teams in the comments too. Maybe I'm missing somebody here. Oh, we got to have a spot for the Yankees. Because, I mean, the Yankees got smoked by Boston, but so Yankees could be down here. Who else did the Yankees play this week? Because I think the question is it just the Red Sox that have the Yankees number? Like, is it just like one of those, the matchup just doesn't work? But that doesn't mean they're what other information do we have other than the Red Sox? I mean, they did sweep the Royals. They took 2 out of 3 from the Guardians. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. 5-8, 18-2. I mean, yeah, you probably have them. Probably have the Yankees. They gotta be under the Giants. The Giants played the Dodgers better than the Yankees did. That seems about right. All right. So then the 10 spot. So the question is question with a 10 spot. Tigers, Yankees, Astros. Okay, so that's everybody there. Mets, Cubs, Dodgers, Phillies, Giants. Mets, Cubs, Dodgers. Yeah, so it comes down to you've got either the Blue Jays or the Padres. Blue Jays have lost 3 in a row. Who did they lose it to, though? Most of the Phillies, they were so hot before that. And they did just take 2 out of 3 from the Phillies last week, too. They swept the Cardinals, 2 out of 3 from the Twins, 2 out of 3 from the Phillies. Swept the Athletics, 2 out of 3 from the Rangers. And they've gotten swept by the Rays. Okay, so that's their resume. What's the Padres' resume? Because the Padres are. That's they lost 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks, but that's not bad. The Diamondbacks aren't a bad team. 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers. Split a 4-game series with the Giants. They won 2 out of 3 with the Brewers. That's basically what they've done in June. What are the Diamondbacks? Hmm. Yeah, Diamondbacks aren't. I don't know. You guys have any thoughts? Blue Jays or Padres? Blue Jays were scorching hot. They just got steamrolled by the Phillies this weekend, kind of like the Mets. Mets were scorching hot. They just got steamrolled by the Rays. Padres. All right, let's look at other stats. Run differential and stuff like that. Plus 25 run differential, minus 12. 22 and 13 at home, 21 and 12 at home, 18 and 19 on the road, 16 and 20 on the road. All right, it's probably the Padres. Padres are 39 and 31. Padres have a better record. Yeah, it's going to be the Padres here. All right. It's going to be the Padres, barely. All right. That's what we got on that. All right. So then I'm going to take. All right. Now I gotta look at my honorable mentions. So I want to try to not pick the same team. So we already did the Pirates, Reds, Orioles last week. So they're gonna get like an honorable mention. But we can, if we already did the Pirates, we don't really need to mention them because they did lose 3 out of 4 of the Cups. Okay, so we can do that. I think it's worth putting the Reds in again as an honorable mention because last week at the Guardians and Tigers are tough tests. They will likely fail, but if they somehow go 500 or better by next Sunday, then maybe they can be the next NL Central team to go on a run. So I think they're going to get a second honorable mention, because they are right back in this. The Reds are just 3 games out of a wild card spot. So we're gonna let the Reds get back-to-back honorable mentions. All right, now I need to find one more team though, since we cut the Pirates, since we covered them last week. I feel like the Diamondbacks were on a run at one point. We already did the Orioles last week. Did the Athletics sweep somebody this weekend? Who did they sweep? The Royals? Royals are falling hard. Yeah, Athletics swept the Royals, but they got swept by the Angels. So that's kind of a toss-up. Why do I feel like the Diamondbacks were on a roll this week? But they swept? Yeah, the Diamondbacks can get an honorable mention here. They swept the Mariners and then took 2 out of 3 versus the Padres. They had a bad series last weekend. But, okay, they're a possibility for an honorable mention. We already have the Red Sox. What about the Rangers? The Rangers also had a good week. They're on a 4-game win streak. Who else did the Rangers play this week? Took 2 out of 3 from the Nationals, 2 out of 3 from the Twins, swept the White Sox. Oh, and they have Royals and Pirates this week. Ooh, that's a good team. That's a good team to highlight for honorable mention. Slightly better week than the Diamondbacks did. I don't know. They're both good. So what if we just re-highlight the Reds? Maybe we'll do that instead of doing a full breakdown of the Reds. All right. Honorable mention. Here you got the Red Sox, Texas Rangers, Arizona. All right. So then I got to figure out because we added a new section to this last week, which is the dropouts. So who are our dropouts? That's Dodgers, Astros, Phillies. So I know we have at least one. Tigers, Knights, Dodgers, Astros. Okay, Phillies are in. Phillies. I mean, Phillies are over the Cubs. Phillies over the Giants. Let's see. So then we got Rays, Cubs, Giants, Yankees, Padres. So the Blue Jays are the only dropout. So who did the Blue Jays play? Phillies humbled them hard this weekend. So then what I do after I kind of type up their little blurb, I also include a little bit of a schedule thing, kind of like a looking ahead. So the Blue Jays have home series versus the Diamondbacks and White Sox. Try to get back on track. And White Sox to get back on track. All right. So that's our dropout team. We got the Blue Jays dropping out of the top 10. They were barely in the top 10 last week. And the 3-game sweep by the Phillies is what completely knocked them out. All right, Reds. That's our honorable mention. The Cardinals still struggling too. Yeah, struggling Twins and Cardinals. All right, so Reds. Reds are only 3 games out of the wild card right now. What's their record? 37-35, 2 games over 500. All right, so we got that. Honorable mention, the Red Sox. What do you guys think of that Devers trade? Red Sox have. Oh, the Red Sox play the Giants this week. That's crazy. So they trade Devers, and they're going to be in San Francisco playing the Giants next weekend. At the Mariners, at the Giants this week for the Red Sox. All right. Right away. Texas Rangers. Oh, so the Rangers have been taking advantage of struggling teams, and they have two more coming up with the Royals and the Pirates. So the Rangers are at 500, but their run differential says they're due for some positive regression. Have a plus 27 run differential. They may and run up the standings. Let's see. All right, Diamondbacks swept the Mariners. 2 out of 3 from the Padres. What a bounce back by the Diamondbacks after getting swept by the Reds, which doesn't seem quite as bad after what the Reds did this week. Sweeping the Mariners and taking 2 out of 3 of the Padres. Taking 2. Who they got this week? Blue Jays and Rockies. That's a nice schedule. All right. Padres, San Diego Padres. Get a 4-game set versus the Dodgers at home. Try to avenge the series lost to them last week. I'm not really convinced the Yankees are this bad. But it remains to be seen if the Red Sox have their number or if they have found a weakness other teams can exploit. This time Yankees lost 4 straight to the Red Sox, actually 5 straight. They're still tops in the AL East. Talking about the Yankees here. Still tops. How's it going, Jaeger? Working on the power rankings this week. Just another 10 weeks and we'll be talking football power rankings. Happy Father's Day. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are you a father, Jaeger? Happy Father's Day to you if you are. But thank you for the greetings. It's still Father's Day. It's been a long day. Been a long day. So job interview went well. It was like kind of like an introductory interview. And so they're gonna follow up. They've got a full-time position opening up, but not till August. They've got some part-time stuff open this summer. So they're gonna follow up. I got a second interview in like a week and a half or so. So we've got some potential for some W-2 income. We've got some potential. Thank you for asking. Thank you for remembering. All right. The Giants. What do we know about the Giants? Beat up on the teams they were supposed to, but couldn't slay the Dodgers dragon. So how are you doing this weekend, Jaeger? Cubs. They continue to struggle against any team that has a pulse. Their most recent series against good teams losses to Mets, Dodgers, Dodgers, Tigers, and Phillies. So they prove they can beat is a product of beating up on a bunch of bad teams. Who the Cubs have this week? The Brewers and the Mariners. Series against the Brewers and Mariners will give them a chance to change the narrative. Or reinforce it. Tampa Bay Rays, where are you? Tampa Bay Rays. They have been what do the Rays have this week? Tampa Bay Rays. Seven home games versus the Orioles and Tigers. Tampa Bay Rays are the AL wild card leader right now. Can we really have the Rays above the Yankees? Where else could we do this? You go. Did I drop the Yankees too low? Is 9 too low for the Yankees? It might be. What's the Giants' record? Maybe 41. You could justify putting the Giants ahead of the Yankees. Cubs. Yeah, the Rays don't have the pedigree of the Cubs yet. Right. We'll go Cubs at 6. All right, next team. I feel like this is an overreaction for the Phillies too. Who else can we put ahead of the Phillies and the Cubs? Anybody? The Giants? No. Man, what a mess. What a mess. So we've got the Phillies. 42 wins. Yeah. Oh, I guess it's just what it is. The Rays played the Yankees recently. Well, they did take 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. All right, so the Phillies, we kicked them out of the power rankings for the team we kicked out. And what did the Phillies do? Taking 2 out of 3 from the Cubs, sweeping the hot. They have a 4-game set against the Marlins, but all eyes are on the Mets series next weekend. So they will aim to take the first in the NL East once again. Is that possible? That's possible, right? Mets don't have that big of a lead. Yeah, it's only a 2.5 game lead. All right. We got the Astros. All right. So working on Houston Astros. The Astros have a 5 game winning streak. Is that best in baseball right now? Anybody have more than 5? Nationals are on an 8 game losing streak. Phillies have won 4 in a row. Red Sox also have a 5 game winning streak. All right. Tied for longest winning streak in MLB at 5 games. Talk about the Houston Astros right now. They haven't lost a series in about a month. That was the Rays. That was the last series. Last series the Astros lost was to the Rays back in mid to end of May. Haven't lost a series in about a month. Pad the lead. How much of a lead do they have? Wow. Opened up a 4.5 game lead in a division that looked to be under control by the Mariners a month ago, or just a few weeks ago. Athletics and Angels. Angels. Great opportunity. AL West lead. Yeah, this Astros team is sneaky good. Sneaky good Astros team. All right. Just working on the power rankings. These will be available to all patrons probably in an hour or two. I'm going to wrap this up here pretty soon and then get the actual video recorded, but doing all the research, and then it will be available to everybody tomorrow. Go live public on YouTube tomorrow, but if you want early access later tonight, it'll be on the Patreon, patreon.com/MetropoliFins, as a special thank you to those who are supporting this channel, helping cover and helping this channel grow so I can make videos like this. All right, look at the Dodgers. Face down challenge from the Giants this weekend. Dodgers. Who else did the Dodgers beat this week? Dodgers beat Padres as well. Nationals, Rockies, Royals to end the month. They face down the challenge from Padres and Giants this week, continue to lead in the NL West. They get 4 more against the Padres this week. And then the cakewalk schedule of Nationals, Rockies, Royals to end the month. New York Mets. Yuck. Disgusting. Despicable. Yes, the Rays are hot, but that performance was putrid. Every team is allowed a bad series every now and then. The Dodgers got swept by the Angels last month. I think that was last month. Yep, it was last month. Didn't the Tigers just get swept or something too? Maybe they didn't get swept. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Guardians. I think that's what I was thinking of. Has been carried by their pitching so far. All right, bring up the Mets. Counterpoint. They still own the best record in the NL and have the tie break over the Dodgers. Their next 10 games are against the Braves and the Phillies. This is the opportunity to wash away the bad weekend and put a hurting on their opponents, or to we'll know a lot more about what these Mets are made of in 1 week. Trick Tigers. They were not supposed to be number one again. It seemed like the Mets had the spot locked up. The Tigers fans can rejoice that the Rays humbled the Mets. Did they play each other now? Yeah, they do. Similar to the Mets losing a series to the Reds is forgivable if you bounce back quickly. Oh, are we gonna get to see Skeens versus Scooble this week? Oh, that'd be so cool. Hold on, does ESPN have the matchups up? I might have to cover that game. I don't know if I what day. It depends on what day it is. MLB. They don't have. Oh, here we go. Oh no, we're gonna miss it by a day, at least according to ESPN. Scooble's supposed to pitch on Wednesday and Skeens on Thursday. You're done with Beatty, D-Rails. You're done with Beatty. But the AL Central is that appears to be fool's gold. So good news, Mets fans, if you believe in this Rays team, well, they're playing the Tigers next weekend, so maybe they can do the Tigers what they did to the Mets this weekend. All right. So the last thing that I do is I go and do a little bit of research on each of the teams and try to just highlight one or two players who are super hot. So there's lots of different things that you can do, lots of different ways to do it. Depends on how much time I have, but I always like to look at hitters over the last week or so, 7 to 15 days, one of those two ranges, and point out, just search by different things. By the way, this past week, Ronald Acuna Jr. hit 619. My goodness. Ellie De La Cruz, home run leader for the week. So there's a Reds note. So then I just kind of go through. So yeah, Ronald Acuna Jr. is playing MVP level right now. He won't win it as of this point, but that's the type of numbers he's putting up are video game numbers. Fernando Tatis. Josh Naylor's definitely leading the way. Hitting. We hit this week. .478 this week. Yeah, Ronald Acuna Jr.'s OPS this week was 1787. Yandy Diaz leading the way for the Rays. And then I'll kind of look for a couple different things and then the Rangers. Evan Carter slugged .889 this week for the Rangers. They're one of our honorable mentions. Evan Carter slugged .889 this week. So this is my favorite part, just diving into the stats and finding names that nobody's talking about. These are your top 5 in slugging percentage for the week. Ronald Acuna Jr., 1095, Ellie De La Cruz, 1000, Evan Carter, 889, Ryan McMahon of the Rockies, 842, and Jordan Westberg of the Orioles at 842. Those are your slugging leaders. Your OPS leaders, very similar. Acuna, Ellie, Evan Carter, and then Josh Naylor and Ryan McMahon. Ernie Clement and Alejandro Kirk. Both for Toronto. All right, and then we'll just break it out to like 15 days. For the OPS leaders. Juan Soto is third in OPS over the last 15 days. That's crazy. He's hitting .319 with a .508 on base percentage. So basically half the time that Juan Soto comes to the plate, he ends up on base. And Pete Alonso is fifth. So that's why, like, you don't want to judge the Mets just by one series. Pete Alonso and Juan Soto are number 3 and number 5 in OPS over the last 2 weeks. Juan Soto is number 3 in OPS, and Pete Alonso number 5 over the past 2 weeks. Max Muncy might be the best hitter for the Dodgers of late. .46, 1.46. OPS over the last 2 weeks. So try to find one like hitting stat and one pitching stat for each team, and split for the stolen base leaders. So for the Cubs, it's even when Pete Crow Armstrong's Pete's PCA. Last 2 weeks. So yeah, once I find all the basic stats, then whatever I'm missing, I'll then search within the individual teams. You can see kind of the process to all this. This isn't something doing that. Vidovic, how's it going? Like you gotta figure out the ratings and you gotta figure out how to defend your ratings. All right. So I'm gonna just start going through by team now because I'm getting tired. It's getting late. So we're gonna go to Blue Jays. And I just kind of look for who's ever standing out. For pitching, I'll generally look over like about a month because sometimes 15 days works if there's someone who's doing really well. Probably never do less than 15 days, but sometimes you can get 3 starts in 15 days and someone will be standing out. Yeah, it's like over the last 15 days, Chris Bassett is 2-0 with a 1.07 whip and a 212 batting average against. All right, so we already had a hitting stat for the Reds. So now we're just going to do a pitching stat for the Reds. So I think we mentioned Andrew Abbott last week, but he's still basically there. Yeah, Andrew Abbott, 4-1 with a 1.65 ERA in his last 5 starts. Look at this game log here real quick. All right. All right. We got the Red Sox. I need to add a little bit more about this trade. Let's so the Red Sox traded away Rafael Devers tonight to the Giants. They got Kyle Harrison back, who's a pitcher from the Giants. But I don't know how he's doing this year or even what level he's at. Shohei Ohtani is going to make his pitching debut on Monday night, guys. I think this is breaking right now. I think this is breaking. I'm going to show this. It's the headline. It would take this to this is get Rafael Devers off the headline. He's going to be an opener tonight. So the Devers was all plastered across this, but yeah, breaking news. Ohtani set to make Dodgers pitching debut. So it is real. Shohei Ohtani is going to be on the mound for the Dodgers tonight. It's been almost 2 years. Almost 2 years. So the Giants gave up a lot for Rafael Devers. There's the full trade. Jordan Hicks, Kyle Harrison. Harrison was supposed to be their starting pitcher tonight. Jose Bello, last year's first round draft pick, James Tibbs III. See if this is going to age like a Mookie Betts deal for the Red Sox, or if it'll age like the Juan Soto deal for the Nationals. The Nationals got the better end of that Soto deal the way it all played out. Looks like they've got a team of the future there, but yeah. So Chase, how's it going? The Giants gave up a lot to get Rafael Devers. That's the list. Um, but looks like Matt Chapman's going to be out a little bit longer. The Giants didn't want to fall further behind. They didn't have what it took to take out the Dodgers this weekend. And crazy thing is, the Giants face the Red Sox next weekend. So Devers is going to face his former team next week. All right, so just working on the power rankings here tonight. We're almost done doing my last little research. We got the order. If you guys want to get early access to it, it'll be up in probably, it'll be up by 2, maybe 1:30, probably 2. For the patrons, it'll go live to everybody else tomorrow afternoon. So if you want to support the channel, get some early access to videos like that, you can do it there. Yeah, good for the Yankees for sure. The Yankees are totally sick of the Red Sox at this point. Lost 5 of 6 to the Red Sox over the last 2 weekends. It's not been not been nice for the Yankees. I may be overcorrected on the Yankees. I'm trying to figure out. I ended up moving them back up at least one more spot. I initially jumped the Rays over the Yankees, but Rays need to prove a little bit more, be a little more consistent. All right, let's see. So what's my next team here? I do Red Sox. All right, they're done. Let's do. Garrett Crochet leads their pitchers. Reinforcements from the Devers trade are welcome. All right, who's hitting well for the Red Sox right now? By the way, in case you guys just missed it, Ohtani is pitching Monday night, today or tomorrow night, depending on where you are. Let's go 15. Hitting. Let's go. Cedar Rafaela, Trevor Story. Yeah, Devers to the Giants. It might work out. Might be one of those that's going to work out well for both. So Matt Chapman's going to be out longer, I think, than people anticipated. So fills an immediate hole for the Giants. And I'm looking at the Red Sox right now, and they need pitching, and they got pitching. Both current Kyle Harrison is like already Kyle Harrison can pitch for them tomorrow because he was supposed to pitch today for the Giants. So maybe it'll work out well for both. Sometimes you just wear out your welcome, and it kind of seems like that. Cedar Rafaela and Trevor Story can they replace Devers? So yeah, because you're a Giants fan, Arnell. So I mean, it's good for you. You have that extra pitching because Verlander's coming back. So Kyle Harrison was a highly touted pitching prospect. So, are you happy about it? If I was a Giants fan, I think I'd be happy about it. Mm-mm-mm. Ba-da-da. Ba-da-da. Da-da-da-da. He didn't want to be DH at first, but then he agreed, but he refused to play first base. So the Giants are going to sit down and talk with Devers, but that could also just be that there's something more below the surface. It might not be about first base. It might be more about his relationship with the Red Sox. So, and your Giants play the Red Sox next weekend, so that'll be fun. That'll be a fun series to watch. Need Tigers pitching. Nope, Rangers pitching. Texas Rangers. Jacob deGrom is 6-2 with a 2.19 ERA for the season. – 80 strikeouts in 14 games. What is that? It's about 6 strikeouts a game. 6-2 with 2.19 ERA and a .91 WHIP. All right, next, Diamondbacks. Need a Diamondbacks pitcher to highlight. Merrill Kelly. Let's go 30 days. See if there's someone more impressive. Merrill Kelly. Let's just do. Kelly is stepping up. Absence of Burns. But it still feels like they need more pitching. Trade type? All right. Need a Padres pitching to highlight. Cease and Pavetta are a great 1-2 punch. About over the last 15 days. But Stephen Kolek is providing. All right, that's the Padres. All right, let's do the Rays. We need a Rays pitching stat. Yeah, no, I mean, you guys are battling. It's the same thing as the Mets. You're battling with the Dodgers. You have to have. You just need more big bats. Shane Baz and Drew Rasmussen. A sub. What's sub? Mine whip just over 1. All right, we got Yankees pitching staff. Next read, but has been on his last 3 starts. Strikeouts in 20 innings. In his last 20 innings. And then when it comes to like highlighting hitters here, I'm going to try to find somebody other than Judge as well. If I can. Sometimes there's just nobody. Last week, Paul Goldschmidt. All right. Giants. Pitching. Logan Webb may only have 1 win in his last 3 starts. I'm doing San Francisco Giants now. But look deeper. Oh. 0.81 whip with a 189 batting average against. Cubs, Chicago Cubs pitcher. Who's pitching well? Matthew Boyd and Jamison Tyon. Uh, 4-1 with a sub-1 whip. All right, Phillies. Need Phillies pitching stat. Rangers, Suarez. Christopher Sanchez. Six and 2. Rangers, Suarez. 3-1. Now we need hitting for the Phillies. Okay. 1129 OPS. Alec Bohm. And then he and Otto Kemp have matching 417. Houston Astros. Jose Altuve and Jeremy Pena. All right, named Astros pitcher to highlight. Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown. Wow. 7-1, 5-0. Wow. How many starts in a row has Framber Valdez won? More than 5? He might be one of the best pitchers in baseball right now. Let's see. One, two, three, four, 5. Yep. Dodgers pitching. Dodgers pitching. Oh. Let's not do the last 30 days. It's not looking good for the Dodgers of the last 30 days. Clayton Kershaw. Two and 0 with a 2.16 ERA in June. Mets. Man. Mets pitching. Mets pitching has been so bad the last couple of days. Wow. Over the last 15 days, Griffin Cannon's been statistically worse than Tyler McGill. The worse ERA, higher whip, same batting average against. Let's go 30 days. I want more Peterson. It's 3-0. Wow. All right, we need Detroit Tigers pitching. By the way, thank you everybody for hanging out with us here tonight. All right, then we need a Detroit Tigers hitting. Let's see, last 7 days. Gleyber Torres. Well, that's a fun name. But the last 15 days. Riley Green. Yeah, we'll highlight Gleyber Torres. 33. Oh, Javi Baez did too. He played in one less game. Oh, Jahmai Jones too. Wow. All right. Well, that being said, I think we're done. I'm going to make my final edits to my script and then record the video. So as always, thank you to everybody. If you want early access to the full Power Rankings video, that is available at the Patreon here, patreon.com/MetropoliFins. You can sign up anytime over the next hour while I'm doing this, and you'll get to see this video as soon as it gets posted. So hopefully that'll be posted by 2 o'clock by the time all of my editing and stuff is done. It's going to be very, very simple edit tonight, very quick. Um, I want to add more to it eventually, and the more patrons that we have, the more I will be able to spend time on doing that. But thank you everybody for hanging out and your great questions and comments. Hopefully you got to see a little bit of the behind the scenes of just kind of what putting these power rankings looks like. It's a multi-hour process. We've been live for 2 hours. Basically 2 hours plus of research that goes into the video behind the scenes and making decisions and debating. And now it's going to be another hour of recording and editing. So it's about a 3-hour project to do that for you. And I still think it could get better if I could put a little more time, another hour of editing the actual video and cutting some things out and putting some extra clips in would be cool. And so as we grow the Patreon, as we grow the team here, and more people join on, then we'll be able to do more of that. So anyway, you could probably piece together the power rankings if you go rewatch the full 2 hours, but if not, it'll be live for the public tomorrow afternoon on YouTube. But again, about just over an hour, I would say. Probably take me an hour to film, edit the script, film it, upload the video, get everything on it. So probably about 2 o'clock, we'll have the video up for the patrons. So as always, appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for your time hanging out. And as always, let's go Mets, baby.